Welcome to the Rebel Rise podcast, a place where values-driven founders on a mission for more come to connect, learn, and grow. Here, we celebrate the relentless spirit of leaders building businesses that create real good for their clients, communities, and the world. No subject is off limits, and every episode is designed to bring you clear strategy, steady leadership, and people-first operations you can actually sustain. Get ready to grow ethically, lead well, and build something that works without burning you out. Your impact journey begins right here. Let's go. Jeanette Cefre is an author, speaker, and creator of the Content Capsule. Known as the content stylist, she helps women style content that reflects how they work and who they are so that they can stay consistent and visible. Drawing on 30 years in learning and development, internal communication, and marketing, she guides women to build aligned visibility that feels true, confident, and sustainable so that they can stop being their own best kept secret. All right, Jeanette, welcome to Rebel Rise. I am so excited to have you. And I just want to first of all say welcome. And really, I'm so excited to dive into what you do today.
Oh, yeah. So I'm really excited as well.
Okay, so my first question, and we were talking a little bit about this off air, but everything within your brand, you focus on marketing primarily, but everything in your brand is very fashion forward. And so, from my understanding, you don't have a background in fashion at all, but you kind of arrived to that in a very unique way. So, I would love to have you start by sharing that.
Yes. As I mentioned, I was sort of the anti-fashion person. I follow the trends, and even if they didn't fit me, if I saw it on a rack or something, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and try that. And I was a bit of a follower. And then when I started my business about 6 years ago, almost 6 years ago now, there's this sort of transformation I was going through in hindsight, looking back on it now, where I just like, oh yeah, I like that. I'm going to wear that, and I don't care what anyone says. And I have this green dress. It's like a Kermit the Frog kind of green, maybe a bit brighter, maybe a Kelly green kind of green. But
Love it.
all my friends were like, "Oh, really? That one?" I'm like, "Yeah." And it's the most I get the most compliments wearing that dress, right?
I could see
So
that being a great color on you.
yes, yes. And it was very powerful to be able to just be confident in like I like that and I'm gonna wear it. And it allowed me to be who I am, right? And that's another big part of my brand, if you will, is there's a lot of performative things that are happening out there. So let's just be our who we are, right? There's a lot of work that goes behind that, but that was it for me. And that just took off. It just sort of engulfed my brand, let's say. My entire brand is built on um, being who you are. I was inspired by minimalist, the capsule wardrobe. So yeah, that's how fashion entered. It was really a weird thing, but yeah, that's how fashion entered me and my brand.
I love it. I love that story so much because it really speaks to like the self-discovery that goes along with entrepreneurship. And it sounds like you've really been able to find yourself in this process.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I didn't start off with what I'm doing now. I wasn't the content stylist. In fact, when I left corporate after 30 years of in the travel tech industry, right? I was going to be a virtual designer, virtual event designer, because that's a little bit what I did in corporate. And the moment people started, you know, connecting again, because this is COVID times, connecting again, I knew quickly. I was like, oh, this is not going to last. It took me a minute to find this space, but 3 years ago, I was like, yes, I really leaned into it, and this is where I am now. So I'm no longer this virtual event designer. Right now, I'm I've self-dubbed myself a content stylist, right? So think about
Yeah.
a personal stylist, and a content strategist. That's me, right? And I love the aspect of the personal stylist because they're not like my experience with a personal stylist is they weren't out to change me. Um, they were out to bring out the best from who I am naturally, right? So this is where the inspiration was.
I love that. And I think that that angle is so powerful because when new entrepreneurs start to work on their business, I assume you work with new entrepreneurs, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
about two,
So
three
I
years
remember,
in.
yeah, and that's perfect because I remember when I first started, I felt like I had to show up like everybody else, show up in a very specific way and be overly performative and just be focused on making my next reel or my next post super viral. Because if I didn't have millions of followers, then it didn't equate to me actually being successful.
Absolutely.
And so I love that because that's something that I found it's taken me a long time too. I'm 5 years into my business now, and it's taken me a really long time to arrive at this beauty that is my own authenticity in my business. And the more I lean into that, the easier everything gets because I'm just being myself in every place and in every format. But people are so much more attracted to that. So I love that you're helping people to do that and amplify who they already are.
Yes, and it's like a muscle because however many, I mean, we've been conditioned for years, like whether it's societal norms, family, I'm Asian, so my trajectory was definitely not where I am right now. It was
Yeah.
nursing, I'm Filipino, so nursing was like in my lane. Um, but you just being true to yourself and doing things the way you want to do it and not and having these blinders, it's super hard. So it's really just there's a lot that goes into pulling that out of someone. And a lot of the women that I work with, and I work only with women, um, it takes a minute. It takes a minute. But the moment it's unleashed, forget it. It's like go. It's go time.
What is that process like, if you don't mind sharing, of really getting a woman to relax and to release that?
One of the biggest things that I aim for is really letting them know that you are in a safe environment. And we hear that all the time, but it's really they have their guard up, especially when we first start working with they really don't know me. They've seen my content, maybe a friend of a friend, maybe one connection over, but they really don't know you. So you really have to build that rapport with them and letting them know that they're safe, not just verbally, but by action and their guard comes down after they realize like, yes, he knows how I feel. That was my experience too, to be quite honest, right? So that is the first thing that I aim for is really constantly say, you know what, you're in a safe space. And a lot of especially women, and I don't know why this is, Vanessa, we have this like right and wrong, right? We have this right and wrong, like I should behave like this, and we have that aspect, but we also have that aspect of uncertainty of, should I do that? Maybe I should. Let me ask my girlfriend. There is not, and it's more than just not having confidence. It's really needing someone to say it's okay, permission, if you will, maybe a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But that's what I go for. Is like, look, if you want to talk, or if you want me to just talk and you listen and you absorb, it's really finding a way that they're able to let that guard down.
And once they do and they crack themselves wide open, it's
Well, I
to
have,
the moon.
yeah, this is the thing. And I'm a dot connector. The name of my business is Congage, and it's just two words, connect and engage, right? And I'm a connect the dots systems kind of girl. And they don't necessarily connect the dots of why they're feeling like this and then what's happening over here. They don't necessarily connect the dots. And I'm just like leaving breadcrumbs for them to connect because I can see the
Mhm.
connection. You're you're
Right.
you're your own actor in your world and you can't really see it from an objective point of view. So I help them connect the dots, right? And once they see that, I remember this a client that I had. She was in my program called What the Block, and we were just having a conversation before we were actually in it. And I was saying, well, and she was a marketing executive. So I'm like, okay, why did she hire me? So she wanted to do her own thing and her own business. She was out of corporate for a bit. She said, like, I know what I need to do, but there's laundry over there and I'd rather do laundry. Right. So I asked her a simple question. I said, so why is it easy and she explained that she was waking up early, taking the kids, early enough so that she can get to work on time, this whole rigmarole that is corporate sometimes. And I
Yeah.
said, well, why could you do so much for a boss? Aren't you a boss? Why don't you do that for yourself then? And it was and then at that point, she's like, oh my God, I would fire myself. So
Yeah.
the moment that light bulb goes off, and you don't ever know what that is. You don't ever know what that moment is until they themselves connect that dots. And sometimes it's a trail. Sometimes it's quick, and sometimes it's like, hmm, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so interesting. And I want to go back to what you said also about, the blocks that we experience as women being more than just simply confidence. Because I used to coach on women's mindset. That was my
Mm,
very first business. And what I found with women also, which it's going to be so obvious, I shouldn't even say what I found, but we're taught at a very young age you're seen and you don't speak unless spoken to.
absolutely.
Right, we're taught that we follow men and we honor that, and it's obviously changing now, which I'm so grateful for. At our children and grandchildren are going to grow up in a very different world
Hmm.
because it is much more open and equal, and there's still a lot of work we have to do.
Yes,
Don't mistake me there, right? We have a long way to go in a lot of ways.
absolutely.
But it is a little bit different for us where I feel like the glass ceiling isn't quite as heavy when it comes to entrepreneurship or speaking out and doing things differently. And the more that we have this type of conversation and the more we work with women and encourage them and say, like, this is actually okay and you're still safe, I
Hmm.
think we help to kind of break those boundaries and then make sure that we're not raising little girls to feel the same way.
Absolutely. And I'm really happy you mentioned that. And the reason why I started to work only with women, it wasn't my intention, but when I was in corporate, I would say for the last 8 years of corporate, I hired apprentices. And I was living in France then. So I just recently moved back to the US, and I was like 18 years in France. And there at that job, I was able to have apprentices to help me out. And, it was part of their university. And they were super green, obviously. They know the theoretical side of whatever degree that they were working on. But for me, I wanted to teach them the real side of corporate, right? Because they had a lot of expectation of how corporate will be. And for me, that was the gap. It's like, honey, like you are going into a corporate world, and in France, it was very, very patriarchal, very
Yeah.
male dominated, and whatnot. And you had to play the game if you wanted to, succeed. And that was a gap in corporate that I saw. So I found myself really working with female apprentices and just giving them the real life kind of situations in corporate, right? It was a bit tough because they would be like, well, that's not supposed to happen. And I realized they had rose colored glasses and whatnot. So that was the beginning of why I wanted to work with women. And then all the statistics, right? Only 4% of women are in entrepreneurship or in startups, even get funding. All of those statistics together, I was like, you know what? We need more women to be successful. And if I can help women in any way to be successful in their business, small business, whatever, it doesn't matter, then I'm doing my part. And that's my vision statement actually, is like to to help to help increase the number of entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs in this world. It's huge, but if I can contribute to that,
Yeah.
I'm just so happy.
Yeah, I agree. And my mission is definitely very much the same, especially as we head into this enormous wealth transfer that we're looking at here in like
Hmm.
the next 8 to 10 years.
Yes,
I mean, the growth for women in business is going to be exponential.
absolutely.
And so if any woman is listening to this right now, really right now is the best time to get started, get your feet wet and really just trust and believe in yourself because there is a lot of growth potential that is headed our way.
Yeah, and I think that, where we met was in a community, and there's so many communities out there now versus, technology helped a lot. But even local communities, I just recently moved to Texas, from France to Texas, big difference. But
Yeah, yeah.
um, one of the first things I did was seek out, women entrepreneur groups and, whatever I can find. And there is more now than there ever was. In fact, we have such an abundance of choices there. So you have to be discerning, obviously, to find the right fit. But they're there, and the energy that happens, I mean, you know it because this is where we met, right? The energy that happens when someone just says, okay, ladies, have an amazing day, you can do, just that sentence alone. It's something that we didn't have before. I didn't have before, for sure, right? There was none of that when I was growing up, at all.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned that because these communities, the way people show up in these communities is also shifting, which I think is interesting and uh, is so needed too. I went to a networking event in the last couple of weeks, and there is always a shameless plug or just basically at the end of the call where you are just saying, hey, this is what I need help with, this is what I
Yeah,
need support with,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Which I know you've experienced before as well. And what I realized in that moment, we've done it over and over and over again, it wasn't the first time I experienced that, but in that moment I realized that community in particular created such a safe space that we no longer have to show up as these perfectly polished
Oh,
entrepreneurs who show up in a three-piece suit and have to shine all of our accolades at everybody to show why you should work with us. And we can just be real and say, hey, here's what's broken in my business right now. Here's what I'm really not sure of. And here's what I need the support of. Because the truth is, like, in entrepreneurship, we're always going to need leads. Of course, we do, right? That's how we keep the lights on. That's how we help more people. But there's other ways that we can get help and glean into those dark crevices in our businesses that we
yeah.
can't see, and it's by being in the company of other people who are authentic and vulnerable so that you can share that information as well. And I got a ton out of it, and I love the way that these communities and networking groups are starting to shift into that level of
A-
depth.
Absolutely. I think there was a time where networking groups were like, I think it was really, let's say, authentic, when it first started, Facebook groups and all that stuff. Then there was that middle part of like, oh gosh, another one, and
Mhm.
you knew your script, like get you in and da da da. You knew that, but now you're right. I feel like it's really going into the community aspect of and it's not really networking but more of a community aspect. And I love it too when they ask for the ask, like what is your ask for the day, because it completely like lowers your barrier. It's like, yeah, of course you can ask. And a lot of my clients, and admittedly, myself as well, like sales is not everyone's strong suit, right? So
Right.
when you are in a space where like, okay, it's okay to ask, right? For advice, for referrals, for whatever. I love the direction that it's going in, and especially in this AI time,
Mhm.
I think AI will just magnify the need for human connection even more. There's just
I
this
agree.
love hate relationship with AI right now.
Yes,
And I mean,
100%.
if you're a solopreneur, like I'm a one woman show, I'm a chief everything officer. So I need that support, right? But there's that love hate relationship with it right now. And it really pulls me to be more human, actually. What are your thoughts on that?
Mhm.
Actually, I'm curious to know.
Yeah, yeah. No, I do have thoughts on that, and I'm a one woman show of two businesses,
Oh,
so I
awesome.
also I use AI too, and I think it's exactly what you said is support, right? So it saves me time on the things that are really tedious if I need something edited or cleaned up, or I need to brainstorm. It's great for that. It also helped me fix my garage door this week too, which is great. I didn't have to call a tech. I didn't have to like call my dad, you know what I mean? It's so it's great for that. It's great for utility. I do think that there is a fine line where people are abusing it, right? We're
Absolutely.
generating fake historical videos and interviews that never happened. And I do also think that while there probably is some kind of use for AI video, the people who are showing up on camera on their content, right? As a social media like replica,
Hmm.
people are going to feel that and they're not going to want to connect with you.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that you can't replace. You can't replace your ideas and your thoughts with something that came out of AI because people are going to feel that. You shouldn't be using it to create a voiceover for you or to show up as a talking head on social media for you. It can help you to fully round out an idea and to even bullet point a presentation or something like that. But I don't think you should be leaning on it to create your thought leadership, your content development, anything like that.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I remember a colleague said, we're pretty good friends, and I refer her business, she refers mine. And one thing she said to me, she's like, "Oh, I was referring your business," and someone said that, "Well, I have AI for that." And for a moment, I was like, "Oof, another thing to add to my, like, okay, how can I, separate myself from, not separate,
Yeah.
but like, how can I um show up as this, a category of one kind of thing. Now AI is there, and it just really forced me to double down on like who I am, right? Because you're right, AI can help you parse. I call it my sparring partner, and that's my instruction actually. Like, you're here to spar with me and whatnot, and I never go in blind. I never go in, write this for me, never. Um, but the truth of the matter is that especially for what I do, I'm not, I that's something that I am up against. But I realize that it can only do so much, right? There's no warmth there. There's no, like, it can't look at me and say, "Oh, you're sad today," kind of thing, or something's bothering you, kind of thing. And that's what I tell my clients as well. It's like it's great to use AI, right? But make sure you're not going to it to as a as a as a reflex, as a habit, right? Because they're like,
Right.
I know people who ask every single little thing, right? My son is experiencing this, like, what should I do? That's a bit, for me, it's on the border. So
Yeah, no, I agree. And to speak to what you do, like why should we book Jeanette over AI? Well, it's that human touch. And if you are somebody who really wants to be successful in business, authenticity is the key. And so AI can never give you
absolutely.
that. There is nothing that is unique or emotional about it. It's a cold framework.
Yeah,
It's using markdown files in order to answer your question. So it has a tactical use, but the businesses that are going to stand the test of time are going to be the ones that are built from your heart, your mind, and your soul.
absolutely. And that is felt. That is felt. And that's why I
Yeah.
love, just the same way a personal stylist works with, someone one on one. Like, I love to get to know people. I love to know what their favorite thing is. I just love that human aspect. I'm a social kind of person, so that's very normal for me. And when it boils down to it, that's how we need to show up, right? And
Mhm.
a lot of my work is focused on increasing consistency so that you can show up. And when you're finally showing up, then you can be visible who you need to be visible to. That is a long road for some people, right? And that's who I help, and that's really what I love accompanying them on their journey from like, okay, now I'm here to, okay, how can we sustain this, right? Um, yeah, so systems are a thing for me. And I believe that without a good system, not just back-end systems, but like systems for yourself. So one of the personal systems I use is human design. You into human design?
Oh, absolutely. I use it all the time. I love it.
So I'm a Manigen, and I've really
Oh,
leaned
my.
into responding to things and not write it on a post-it note and okay, I'll save that idea for later. Like I get on stories and I'm like, you know what I was thinking? you know?
Yeah.
So that's my personal system. Aside having, your content strategy, all those other systems, um, I think we all need systems to support us, especially if you're at the start of your business and you don't know you don't know what you don't know, right? That's why these communities are
Mhm.
great. That's why exposure to shows like yours is great. And just be surrounded by women who can encourage you to move forward.
Yeah, 100%. I could not agree with that more. I want to shift it back to your offer and
Yeah.
what you do a little bit. And in terms of content, what would you say is the most important type of content that someone should be focusing on?
Such a good question. I would say content that it's sort of a twofold answer. Um, Content that really resonates with your target audience, right? Really getting to know the identity of your target audience, and it's not like the demographic kind of okay, she's a stay-at-home mom, and like okay, she's a stay-at-home mom. What is she doing on Monday? Is she like on Mondays? Is it like, her free day? Like really detailed like that, because right now you can find general information everywhere. But if you don't know your audience, then, they're not going to resonate with you. So I think content that resonates on a really deeper level, not surface level, is something that's going to help. And a lot of women that I work with, they want to sort of discard like their experiences. It's like, yeah, you can just gather all of that up and use it in your content. That helps to build this resonance. A lot of my clients are, former corporate. I use that. Like, absolutely, I use that. I'd be silly not to take that and, take that experience and, use it in my content because so many women identify with it. So many. So I would say, long answer to your question, I would say
Yeah.
resonance, right? Content that resonates from an identity standpoint.
And what if somebody listening right now doesn't know what might resonate with the person they would like to work with?
That's a challenging thing, because that would mean that you haven't looked deep enough into your ideal, right? It's very surface level, and if they don't know, it's easy to just either ask your current clients, and if you don't have current clients, ask your friends, right? Not so much family because it's a bit biased, but like ask your friends, like, look, if
Yeah.
if you were this, if you needed this, what would you do? They'll be honest with you, especially if they're really good friends. They're going to be honest with you. And you have to do the legwork. You have to do the legwork. I think a lot of the times we have an idea of what would resonate without doing the research, or without really just sitting and thinking about, okay, what is she doing on a Monday? What is my ideal client doing on a Monday? What does she have to worry about? And I hate to go back to this, like, what keeps her up at night question, but it's so true. It is so
Yeah.
true. You have to sit with it. Content is a long game. We think it's quick. We think we're going to put something out there. It's a long game, and it's also multifaceted in terms of where you put your content out there. And when I say content, I guess something to clarify is when I say I help people with content or women's content, it's all kind of content. It's not just social media. If you need support with your email, if you need support with, your keynote presentation, I help women, anything that they need to create to present themselves or represent their business. That's the kind of content that I work with.
I love it. One stop shop.
Well, I try to be. I mean, Honestly, I try to be, and I just look at I see my customer's journey. I see where when they start all the way to, okay, the goal is to not need me anymore. I'd love them to stay with me for a while, but all the way to like, okay, how do I maintain this? How do we maintain your visibility? How do we maintain your consistency? Because it's never stopping, it's never stopping. The world that we live in is just overflowing with information. How can it ever stop? So yeah, I try to be there
Yeah.
and all the steps of their journey, be as supportive as I can.
Yeah. And it's so important to have that support because how else do you stand out? I know for me with my content creation, it's a filter I have to run through several times to ask myself, is this authentic? Does it actually sound like me? Does it sound like somebody else? Even if I wrote it, right? Because sometimes you're performing. Sometimes you saw something online that inspired you and you got to try to not sound like somebody else. So it is so helpful and so important to have somebody in your court who can help you to just run through that filter and keep things consistent, because that
Yes.
is the key to visibility too.
And thank you for saying that, because actually that is my whole hope as a content stylist is like, I want you to be able to come to me and say, you know what? I was thinking of it this way, and I don't know if it's going to land. Okay, let's run through it together. And it's more of me knowing what your style is, your content style, versus, and I can spot it, versus like, this trend, if you want to do a trend, I'm not opposed to trends, but you know what? This is either not on brand, it doesn't fit who you are, let's find something else. And that's what a stylist does, is really take you are the focus, right? And I always have this thing that I've been saying, just off the cuff, is like, my goal is to stop you from being the best kept secret. Like, that's my whole goal. Like, we want you out there, right? So be out there and just be yourself, and go in that route, and trust yourself. That's another thing. Is we as women, we don't trust ourselves enough. I've been down that road. It's like a peaks and valleys for me on that as well, but absolutely we need to trust ourselves more.
Yeah. And if somebody would love to lean into this process and have you help them get themselves seen and more authentic, how can they best reach you?
So I'm on Instagram. I am I was gonna like, can I show it on screen? It's called Congage. It's CONN_GAGE, Congage. Or you can just find me by my name, Jeanette Cefre. I'm the only one. And you can reach me there. Like I said, I have something to help everyone across their journey. So I have something called the Fit Finder, where to see where you are in this stage now, and it'll match what service might, help you where you are now. So yeah.
I love that. Make sure everybody goes and does that so that you know exactly where you are. That is such an incredible tool. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
And I will make sure that all of that is in the show notes as well. So it is easy to find Jeanette. If you have a direct link to that Fit Finder, if you want to send me that, I can put that in the show notes as well.
Absolutely.
And yeah, thank you so much for this conversation, Jeanette. This was incredible. And yeah, I'm excited to share this with everybody.
I am so excited. Thank you so much for having me and for me to share my story. And I can't wait to listen back to it. It's always weird to do that, but I can't wait to listen back to it.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Rebel Rise podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and invite your friends to join us next week. This is your time. Now get out there and rise.